Welcome to Advanced Nurses. We connect with nurses who inspire other nurses by sharing their experiences. And so we're able to bring that information to you.
This is part 2 of a 2-part discussion on the topic of toxic workplaces and layoffs within healthcare with guest Mwaya, adjunct professor/lecturer in Chippewa at the University of Pennsylvania, with over 15 years of experience working in healthcare.
Right? So the thing I want to transition into is like how we could be successful. So like to be successful in a post-layoff workplace as a manager, right? Or as a leader of a team, right? Or as a team leader, you're in a leadership role. Okay, we know that it requires prioritizing open and frequent communication to retain your remaining team, right?
Yeah,
exactly. And acknowledging their emotions, providing clear information about the company's future, because we already know when you see people leave, all it does is make more people want to leave, right? And actively listening to concerns of the remaining team members, because that's the thing that I think a lot of companies miss, is that now, once those individuals have been let go, the company's reputation now they say that they're concerned about their reputation, but the truth is the layoffs show that you were willing to take the risk on your reputation as a company. So, it's important for there to be clear and frequent communication around the goals of the company, because people want to know, like, is my job secure? And then, like you said, with bullying, this is where we have to be careful, because if a person feels like their job is not secure and they decide to take that out on their team by putting more pressure on their team so that they can, keep their roles, or vice versa, you have people who are on the team and they feel pressure because they're like, well, I just seen half of my team go, should I be in the job market looking for work now as well? So it can happen for managers and regular staff. But some strategies that I think is really important is transparency, frequent check-ins, active listening, acknowledging contributions, focusing on team building.
Adequate training.
And that goes into clear expectations. So now just tell me, what do you think from a solution standpoint, adequate training would do from a solution standpoint?
Adequate training is have the person that you're hiring first perfect the role without any customer interaction. And once they're
please elaborate.
Okay. So, case in point, I have to deal with patients that need resources, right? And I have to help them get by. But before that, as I was saying, my company made sure that I spent a month having work scenarios, checking my work. Did I follow the right process? Did I take the training individual through the right processes? Instead of just thinking, oh, you know what, we're going to throw her in and then we'll see what happens and then we'll fix it then. That doesn't work. You need to train people. Case in point, when I started teaching at Penn, I did not have any teaching experience, but they made sure that they trained me well. And now I'm very qualified as a teacher, because I was given the resources on how to excel at my role. If you're not given resources on how to excel at your role, unless you're a magician and you're pulling things out of the hat, please let me know how you're going to do. Because every company is different. The framework in everything, we might be working the same job, you can work the same job, but different processes. And once people are not making sure that in their onboarding, hiring, training is not well-rounded, to me, I see a revolving door of people leaving your company and finding somewhere else where they can have their peace. Do you understand?
You know what? Of course, I completely understand, because also one of the things you have to think about, and you're saying it there, and what you just said as well, is again, going back to layoffs, who's left? Who's left? The person who now has to do the onboarding and training, are they now being asked to take on new responsibilities. So training is new for them. Or have they been a seasoned trainer and that was the role they were in before, but they have now these new roles and responsibilities that they have taken on. And that is those new roles and responsibilities have become more of a distraction or burden so that they're not as effective in their training. So again, this goes back to companies having to really think, if we're going to go ahead and move forward with layoffs and downsizing and having these leaner, meaner teams, what does it look like as far as our impression for these individuals these applicants when they're newly hired? Because what happens oftentimes is that your impression of the company happens within those first 3-4 days. I think people think that they have 90 days to make it up to you. They don't have 90 days to make it up to you. In most cases, people know on day one. I like to look at this way. I've been through onboarding processes where the person who's supposed to onboard me was sick, not available, out of work, or maybe that person no longer is with the company, right? And a new person is supposed to now train me and take me through. And looking at having like the process of just even in some cases, even knowing that that's the case. Like, for instance, there's no reason that I should know that the person who was supposed to onboard me is no longer with the company, because whoever is supposed to be doing that role, they should feel it in. It should be so seamless.
That's called blame shifting. That's called blame shifting.
And not just blame shifting. Let's go a step further. You're actually expecting me as the applicant to take on some understanding, because the reason why you're sharing that information with me is because you're hoping that I'm going to be understanding about the chaos that is going to ensue, or possibly I'm going to observe over the next 90 days, or maybe the next 3 days as I go through, initiate my onboarding process, right? Because you're telling me this because you're like, oh crap, like you're about to see how crazy things are here, because not only did this person leave, this person left, and we really never had a backup plan in this person's absence. Again, this is what happens with leaner, meaner teams. That point, that B person, like when person A is not available, sick, out of work, called out, whatever the case is, unavailable at a meeting, at a conference, person B should be there. Leaner, meaner teams don't have a person B.
Backup, yeah.
But those are the kind of things, like I'm saying, companies think that they have 90 days to prove themselves. No, you actually can do that on day one. You don't have 90 days. Day one is enough. And some companies are clever. They'll give you donuts and orange juice and coffee. A lot of that has gone away.
Donuts and pizza does not make me stay.
But they'll do that for the first week as if that, we're taking care of your lunch, we're taking care of it. And I don't even see much of that now, especially with remote work. You can cut a lot of that out because you can just give people a Zoom link or a Teams link. And, that's the courtesy you're extending to them. They could be at home having their own breakfast and teas and muffins. But the larger point that I'm making is that you don't have the 90 days to prove yourself. Employers should think about how onboarding is going to look in the absence of these other players who they may look at as just an expense, but not realizing that these are the individuals with the soft skills, with the intelligence about the company, with the experience and the skill set to have smoother onboarding, so that people don't have to be convinced that you're a good company. They can see that you're a good company. So do you have any closing remarks regarding these toxic workplaces, especially as it relates to layoffs?
Quality is always going to be bigger than quantity. So when you're hiring, hire qualified individuals. Give them their due. Don't fight with them about compensation, and have metrics in place that will be measurable. Don't just throw people in a row without adequate training. I know by profession, and that's what I believe, that things are teachable, right?
Of course.
And you can teach your staff how to be qualified workers. That's all, and thank you for having me.
So I was very happy to have this opportunity and excited to talk to you about this subject matter, because you and I have had conversations prior to this where I said I want my audience to actually get an idea of what healthcare professionals working in remote roles, working in non-traditional roles, what we feel about these layoffs, and that layoffs are like impacting the healthcare sector. I do want to just say these like I guess 4 points around things that really employers should think about. And this is just really summarizing our conversation. Employers should really think about like avoiding ignoring emotions. Like, don't ignore those red flags from your team. The remaining team are loyal individuals who there's a huge potential for those individuals to continue to grow your team. And in most cases, in your company, and in most cases, the company is still going to want to hit their projections around expansion, around hitting their profits. And so all of that happens with your remaining team. So think about their feelings, consider the fact that as a result of layoffs, a lot of them are going to feel uncertain about work, right? Also, making promises that you can't keep, not a good thing. Be realistic and honest about what's really going on with the company. If the layoffs are really, really due to the fact that the rising cost of a lot of things is just a business, makes layoffs a business decision that is just a ugly necessary, be honest about what that looks like. Also, micromanaging. It's very tempting, and you mentioned this before too about micromanaging. It's very tempting to want to micromanage individuals, because now that you have less of that confidence that things are going to go well, you feel more of an expectation to be more watchful and engage more around what everybody is doing. And so I find that in my personal experience is come up with as a manager and leader and CEO, deploy and develop processes that you can trust, instead of worrying about if you can trust individuals. Because the problem with this idea around trusting individuals is that the CEO and everyone else, all the other leaders and managers, they're all human beings. So if I decide that every day I'm going to smooze up and kiss up to you and buy you lunch and take you out and remember your birthday, you may grow to trust me. But the trust is not based off of the work that I'm doing. This trust is based off the fact that I decided to invest into catering to your emotions. So oftentimes individuals who do the micromanaging, because they are leaning away from processes they trust, they're leaning more towards subjective approaches. And so with that subjectivity, there's a higher likelihood for favoritism and bullying and a lot of those other things, nepotism, to be at play. So with micromanaging, you just want to really make sure you have processes in place so that you can be more objective and you can be more focused as far as your interactions with your remaining team around their personal development and professional development. And then also the lack of communication. Companies, unfortunately, when decisions like layoffs happen, people feel that the company is kind of like a us versus them. So being open and honest and not leaving the remaining employees in the dark is very important. So having information about the company's goals, you don't have to go into the details with everybody, but go at least get into the high level specifics around why the decisions were made for layoffs and what other layoffs may happen in the future, or other restructuring of the team, what that would look like. And again, that honesty is what companies need to be more invested in, because that kind of honesty keeps the morale of the remaining team high. These individuals now can trust that the company is not just simply focused on their bottom line, but they are also focused on being honest and upfront with and to these remaining staff members who are demonstrating their loyalty. The fact that they have chosen to stay despite everything that's going on in the layoffs is very indicative of the fact that they are loyal. And there should be something to be said about loyalty. So I just, again, thank you for this opportunity to speak with you today. I look forward to more conversations in the future.
Me too. Thank you so much. See you soon.
We want to hear from you. Schedule a free consultation or send us an email at advancednurses@acd4n.com or visit our websites www.advancednurses.info or www.acd4n.com.